Welcome to the 7-day Untangling Overwhelming Emotions Challenge. My name is Sven Lauch. I'm an emotional logic coach and I help people to move their inner dialogue from behavior and feelings to values and action plans. Now you might think, because I deal with emotions and I teach people about emotions all the time, that I am never overwhelmed. Well, that's far from the truth. This challenge was actually created as a response to a few days of feeling overwhelmed between Christmas and New Year last year. I felt frozen inside myself. I felt disconnected from the people around me. I felt everything was kind of too much. I felt tired, and I just had this moment of feeling I don't even know how to pick myself up. And then I began to realize, like, hey, wait a minute. I need to do what I teach to untangle it. And I will use this situation in this session to illustrate a little bit how I began to untangle this emotional overwhelming season and these overwhelming few days. In this session, I want to share with you the first step that comes even before me teaching a method to my clients. And the first step that I have learned for myself and I do practice for myself is that I need to break things down. When we are emotionally overwhelmed, then there are too many triggers going on at the same time within us. Our emotions, which I will share more about tomorrow, are part of our immune system. They're part of our body. They're part of our response to difficult situations. But if there are too many things happening at the same time, our body gets actually overwhelmed. And that's what we experience, this overwhelming situation. And I'd like to use this as a picture for it. You know, these are just Lego pieces randomly put together. And that is what overwhelm usually kind of looks like. Has no really specific shape, looks quite confusing, quite chaotic, and it doesn't really feel right. But as I mentioned, when we are overwhelmed, there are multiple things going on at the same time. So let me go back to my days between Christmas and New Year when I really struggled. When I began to take some time to tune in, to listen in, what is really going on? What are the things that are going through my head in that time of feeling very anxious? I began to hear and see multiple things. One thing, for instance, that actually really surprised me was that our cancelled travel to Germany hit me really hard. And you can already see there's a big piece coming off right now because there are so many things attached to it. I really miss my parents. I haven't seen them for like 2 years now, face to face. I really looked forward to see my wife's family and all the kids on her side so that our son and we can just spend loads of good and quality time together. Even though the flights had been cancelled for 3 weeks, I only became really aware that I've never properly processed that until I took the time to look into this. Other things that went on in my head where just how's this next year going to be like? I mean, what are we facing? How's my family changing? How will, we are going to live on? And of course, there are things like electricity bills have gone up quite significantly. Food prices have gone up quite significantly. There's all the talk of a imminent financial crisis and things like this. Can you see what I'm doing here? By listening in to myself, I began to take this whole big bunch of overwhelm that felt confusing and chaotic and intangible and uncontrollable. I began to see specific parts of it. And that is the first step to untangle overwhelming emotions. Because each of those pieces, each one that I just took apart, each of those things that I've shared with you, they all trigger my own value system. That each one of them triggers my survival mechanism, my willingness to protect myself and my family and the things I love. But in order to be able to make really conscious decisions about things, in order to take actions, and in order to really discover what are the things that need action, I needed to break this down. I needed to become aware of specific triggers, events, memories. Now, what you might face are other things. You might face that specific things happen, you become overwhelmed because there are loads of memories attached, many disappointments. There might be many other events being attached to it. And I want you to sit down, take time, find a safe place, listen in, and write down a list of all the things that come to mind as you feel overwhelmed. Because then we can take the next step, and only then we can take a next step. Tomorrow I will share how, once we have decided on one situation, we can go deeper and begin to feel into it. I will share about what are emotions, what are they for, why do we have them? And I will share how, if you're struggling to feel, if you're struggling with your emotions, how you can learn to name emotions and how you can build up emotional literacy. But before this, remember that. Break down the overwhelm that you experience into specific parts that you can then tackle. My name is Sven, and I see you tomorrow.